So this should be able to go live, I hope, because apparently it's already recording. And I'm now going to go live. So it should be preparing to live stream this meeting on Facebook. And then we'll get into Taming the Tongue by Mark Kinzer. Get back to my meeting so I can see where I am. Aha, got it. All right, so we are back. Hello, good evening. This is Cassandra Vitaka Mitchell with far too many companies to mention. But I am leading the study of Mark Kinzer's Taming the Tongue. Actually, Mr. Kinzer gave me permission to scan and photocopy or scan and therefore email to you chapter 4 for anybody who might want it. So I have that. It's not a pretty copy, but I just order the dang book. I bet you it's like $15 or $12. I don't think it's that expensive. 116 pages. You're seriously going to want to read this book. You're going to want to read it because you're going to want to send it to people. But you're going to want to read it because it will encourage you to be a better you. You know, I know we all want to believe that we are the role models of humanity that we critique. And I didn't say that well, meaning many of us like to put out there how reprehensibly other people act, speak, write, think, because as we do that, what we're really saying is, but I do it better. I work real hard to help you all know sometimes I really have done much better at something. And that's why I'm talking about it, because I've learned how not to be the bad version. Sometimes I'm still working on it, right? This book, Taming the Tongue, is powerful because it really highlights, again, how insidious the tongue is. And so we're going to get into this. Last time I discussed the chapter on gossip, and I say every time a chapter comes up, I'm like, everybody needs to read this chapter. It's 116 pages. Get the whole dang book, read the whole book. But I wanted to go back. We're going to look into chapter 4, which is called Slapping with a Smile. And it's about that sort of, it's about negative humor. It's about the, oh, I'm just kidding, I'm just messing with you. It's about our tendency to speak, to make fun of, use jokes, to really hurt people, make fun of them. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to read some from this book, but I want to go back real quickly and just reread from chapter 3, which is called Whispering with the Neighbor. And this is about gossip. And there's a reason I'm doing this, because I want to make sure we differentiate, because we're kind of going through subtleties of, or at least what Kinzer points out is that this negative humor, the slapping with the smile, potentially isn't as egregious, at least in terms of the way the Lord talks about it. The Lord is disgusted by gossip and slander, disgusted. They are up there with child pornography and adultery and murder. I mean, it is using your tongue to slander and gossip is even worse than some of these other things in terms of the lists that God has when he talks about these horrible sins. Gossip and slander are on there. So I want to go over those real quick, because when we get into negative humor, it'll make sense. Remember that when we talk about gossip, so, or this is really I'm sorry, this is about gossip. So in gossip involves talking about people in a manner that is in some way harmful. It does not produce outright charges of wrongdoing or incompetence, but it spins a web of innuendo and information that binds a person's name and subjects it to criticism and dishonor. This is where you using the Lord's name in vain, we attach the Lord's name to wrong behaviors, wrong ideas. And so do not take the Lord's name in vain means do not do something and attach the Lord's name to it, saying the Lord gave me permission. This is of the Lord, and yet it's evil. That actually is an unforgivable sin. It's the only unforgivable sin. Now, if you repent, and that's another video, but to attach someone's name to something that, again, to insinuate that this is who they are, this is serious business. We gossip whenever we talk about people in a manner that diminishes a hearer's trust and esteem for those people, and whenever we reveal another's personal thoughts and affairs without his or her permission. Another thing, gossip means useless, silly, and critical speech about other people. So again, gossip means useless, silly, and critical speech about other people, speech that subtracts from the respect and esteem our listeners have for them. So when we're speaking in a manner that is designed to diminish, detract from another's honor and esteem of this person, we're gossiping. And that you'll see why then, as we're slapping with a smile, this is essentially what we're doing. We're diminishing the respect and the honor of another person with humor, and therefore giving ourselves the veil, what we perceive to be this covering of, oh, I'm just being funny. Aren't I funny? Can't you take a joke? Folks, some of y'all aren't as funny as you think. A lot of you are not as funny as you think. And yes, a lot of people are hypersensitive. I get it. And I have a sick and wrong humor, and things that make me laugh are not things that should be laughed at, that others might laugh at. But so let's be clear. A lot of you aren't as funny as you think. A lot of you that are hypersensitive might want to consider it, and simultaneously we all might want to consider how we need to tame our tongue. So negative humor is often funny, but the laughs are purchased at someone's expense. It is funny and painful at the same time. Negative humor is like slapping someone with a smile. So if you have the book, this is on page 61, chapter 4, Slapping with a Smile. Negative humor thrives in social situations that are casual and informal. And in modern Western society, especially American society, it is far more casual and informal than the societies of the past. In particular, he's referencing kind of the biblical times, Abraham, Moses, Ezra, Yeshua. Slander and gossip, again, referencing back the gossip, what I just talked about. Slander and gossip are serious offenses against God's law, for they involve robbery of a person's most cherished possession, one's good name, right? Negative humor can be used in order to convey slander or gossip, although it is not always used so. So again, it's a very subtle line there, and it's a slippery slope kind of deal. Negative humor can cause significant problems in relationships and in individuals. If we want to reflect fully the love of God and impart life with our speech rather than death. Remember, life and death is in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18:21, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So if we want to reflect fully the love of God and impart life with our speech rather than death, we will seek to uproot negative humor from our relationships and learn how to smile without slapping. So he goes into sort of why people do this, right? I mean, let's always think about, why do we do the things we do? Again, we're not just a bunch of rude, mean, blubbering idiots. Many times we just don't even think about, why do I speak this way? Why do I think this way? And this is a lot of what this book's about, but it's a lot of what I teach as well, a lot of what I do this for. I'm not critiquing you. I'm asking you to consider some of the things I bring to you. And to consider in particular, especially if you take offense to something I'm saying, if you're kind of going, oh, Cassandra's critiquing me, Cassandra's judging me. If you're taking offense, really that's a point in time for you to go, why do I believe this way, walk this way, talk this way? So he says that slapping with a smile. We often use negative humor to express affection, appreciation, and familiarity. We joke about another's weakness or eccentricity as a friend who knows that individual through and through. So, the fact that John snores like a train whistle and Phil can't hit a baseball out of the infield becomes a common store of jokes that anyone can pull out anytime and use to raise a laugh. We all know this. It's part of the fun banter, right? It's that familial friendship banter that we enjoy even when we're the butt of the jokes. It's hilarious because we know it to be true. The main intention behind such humor is to express unity, familiarity, friendship, and affection, though often one can also find traces in it of competitiveness, jealousy, and one-upmanship, just the negativity. This is where you have to be very, very careful with how you use this type of humor. You better know that person. I have had people tell me, well, I wouldn't make fun of you if I wasn't your friend. And I have said back to them, well, we're not that close of friends yet. Just don't do it I don't know you well enough. I know you think it's funny, but I don't know you well enough to feel comfortable with you doing that. And even when somebody knows me well, i.e. my husband he does definitely, and again, I love him, I respect him, but he absolutely ventures on the using negative humor inappropriate side. And we've talked about it. And because I know him real well and he's my husband, it's hilarious when he does it well. I mean, it is literally one of the things I love about him most because he's really funny. And half the time he's making fun of me and I'm goofy and I think I'm funny too. So it works well. It's just when it doesn't, right? And so the thing is, you got to be really careful with it. Very careful. So again, we use negative humor oftentimes. Again, we're expressing affection or appreciation, familiarity, right? So we're motivated by a good desire. And we know this, for example, one of our common things that we do in society here is what's called the roast. When somebody leaves a company, we host a goodbye party for them and everyone gets up and says all the things that they did that were funny, right? Now, everybody knows inevitably there's at least one person, inevitably. I've never been to one roast, one of these kind of situations where there wasn't one person that probably pushed the line, might have gone a little too far. One of those moments where you think, oh God, I can't believe they talked about that. Oh my God, I can't believe they brought that up. That's not funny. I mean, it's funny, but not funny, right? Like it's funny, but you just don't talk about it anymore. So again, it always goes over the line. It's how it works because it's not the best. And this is what he gets into a little bit here. The prominent role played by negative humor in our society is in fact a commentary on some of the weaknesses of our culture. We have lost a sense of how to show genuine affection, and consequently, negative humor has become a primary vehicle for expressing friendship. Most of us are inhibited in showing physical affection outside of a sexual relationship, unlike people in many cultures who will walk down the street arm in arm, man with man, woman with woman, holding a warm conversation and building a relationship that is not sexually suspect. Most of us are also inhibited in showing verbal affection and are unable to give direct commendation or express in clear and sober language how much we esteem and value another person. Our society has largely lost the rich expressions of friendship and affection found in many other cultures, and has come to a point at which negative humor is the main means of building relationship. I have had many a person thank me for how well I express gratitude and love verbally and in writing for the people. And I have been very purposeful in doing it for a long time. And it's because of this. because I recognized a long time ago, people do not know how to receive a compliment, let alone give one. People do not hear enough of the good stuff about them. And I mean the specifics and why. People do not hear the words, I love you, I miss you, you're important to me, I value you, I appreciate you deeply. They don't hear these words that are affectionate words. They don't hear, you make me smile, you make my heart smile, you bring joy to my world. They don't hear these types of words enough. So a long time ago, I made a decision to be somebody who would bring that to the forefront verbally and in writing, because indeed, we don't do it in our culture. Unfortunately, negative humor does not really do the job of building a relationship. While conveying some affection, it at the same time sows seeds of criticalness and jealousy and resentment. And it further acts as an obstacle to open and straightforward expression of affection. We can grow nonetheless in showing courtesy, honor, esteem, and affection with our body language and with our words. So what he's saying is, look, we don't do this well as a society at all, but we can grow. We can do this, right? We can learn how. He goes into some sort of, one is negative humor is used to show affection, but not the best. And so let's work on that. He also goes into negative humor also as a way that we correct. So it's more that sort of passive aggressive way of doing things. Negative humor is a bad way of offering correction for the same reason that's a bad way of expressing affection. Negative humor is indirect rather than straightforward, negative and destructive rather than positive and constructive. So again, one of our challenges as a culture is we don't even know how to hear criticism. We hear it as critical rather than constructive. There's only so much I can temper my tone. There's only so much I can temper my words. There's only so much I can work on my body language at some point. And I have encountered this far too many times with people. The receiver has to be mature enough to just receive the input. Receive it. I didn't say you had to agree. I didn't say you had to like it. I didn't say you had to do it. Receive it. Say, okay. What I hear you saying is X, Y, and Z. The person confirms it. You say, okay, I'll take that under advisement. Thanks for offering it. And move on. Nothing more to do with it. Didn't say I had to do it. Didn't say I had to believe it. But I receive it. Go ahead and tell me. Go ahead and tell me what you think I should improve. I'll take it on. I won't defend it. I will ask for clarification and I will think about it. And if you need a response, I'll let you know, yes or no. I mean, maybe not in the moment, but maybe in the future, I'll say, hey, by the way, thought about what you said, not going to implement that program or whatever. But bottom line, because we do not know how to be direct with our words, we therefore use negative humor. Really, it's passive aggressive, make fun of something that somebody needs to correct. And the third way we use it inappropriately is we use it to sort of mock. And this is he gets into this about really, it's more about mockery as one of the greatest forms of dishonor and disrespect that can be shown. And it's really more about like, the example would be when Jesus is on the cross and the guards are saying, hey, why don't you pray to your gods now and get yourself down, right? So making fun of somebody, mocking them at an hour of pain, it's not funny, but it's a bully. It's the horrific aspects of bullying. Unfortunately, many people use negative humor to show malice and contempt in situations that are clearly inappropriate. Contemptuous negative humor is only appropriate when one is mocking the evil one himself, the enemy, and his works. It is never appropriate as a form of personal attack. And so we have seen this, part of the reason why so many folks do not like social media, and y'all know that I value social media, but I'm aware of the venom, just the mockery of people who come out and just attack somebody And then everybody else who jumps into the comment stream where people just start jumping all over somebody. You don't even know these people, right? You don't know them. They're strangers. And even if they're not strangers, that's probably worse, I guess. I don't know. So bottom line, with maliciousness and attacking someone is using being funny, but it's mockery, and it's cruel and beyond inappropriate. In conclusion, we see that negative humor can be used to communicate affection, correction, or contempt, or perhaps some combination of the three. It is almost always an uncharitable and destructive form of communication, though at times it is not fully intended as such. We can find better ways to show affection and give correction than through negative humor. And there are few occasions when contemptuous negative humor is appropriate. Again, when you're speaking against evil, against the idols that bring people down, not against individuals themselves. So negative humor gives negative results. The first consequence of negative humor is emotional insecurity. One could hear only so many jokes about one's appearance, intelligence, or abilities without starting to believe what others are saying. A second consequence, and there's more about this, I'm just highlighting. A second consequence of negative humor is jealousy, criticalness, and competitiveness. These arise through the natural desire to retaliate. So the first one is the person themselves internalizing what's being made fun of. The next level of this is someone retaliating, like starting to defend themselves, but in that hurt way. Third consequence of negative humor is inhibition in speaking openly, freely, and personally with others. The cost of speaking freely about ourselves is far greater than the reward. Negative humor inhibits both the frank confession of personal need and the direct expression of honor and affection, two types of speech that help build genuine relationships. This is an important thing to notice. If you were prone to use negative humor as a way to build affection, build relationship, you think it's the way you form friendship. The reality is you will keep, for many of us, for someone like me, absolutely, you will keep me from telling you anything about my life. I will tell you as little as possible because I do not want you turning it into some joke, because I never know if you're going to choose the funny parts or all the parts that, and I certainly aren't going to tell you anything that I know for sure is hurting me. I also am just going to pull back from you. So it makes it harder for me to really connect to you. And so I'm not a fan of people's negative humor. It doesn't work for personalities like me, and it doesn't work for a lot of folks because this is a research book, folks. This is not just someone's opinion. A final consequence comes from negative humor's infectious and habit-forming nature. It can easily become the main way we relate to others. Again, this is for those of you, especially if you were raised in a household where you were in this kind of environment where that's how you all related to each other. Your mom made fun of you, your dad made fun of you. Maybe they were just outright violent and cruel with their words, right? So maybe you're not violent and cruel, maybe you're funny, but there's still that's the way you relate, and again, maybe a lot of you do come from those families where you're always joking with each other, you're always picking at each other. But the thing is, I work with a lot of you, and research proves it doesn't work. And so there's ways to do it better. Bottom line, this has been enough on Slapping with a Smile, Taming the Tongue by Mark Kinzer. I hope this has got you thinking. Again, he gives lots of examples. I mean, not tons, it's only a 116-page book, right? But he does give enough to get you to start thinking, how well do I behave in this arena? How excellent is my speech pattern? And I promise you, I meet very few of, in fact, I'd be hard pressed to think about, I probably have a handful of people who I know well, like who I have had opportunities to interact with on a personal level, on an intimate level, so I can see, because again, people can put on a good act in the corporate work environment, right? But you get them outside, you get them into a private setting, you do some weekend retreat together, and you know, they don't have their makeup on, they don't have their proper clothes on, they've got their skivvies, you know, and you get to see people. And so there are probably a handful of people who use their tongues consistently well. And I'm not one of them, right? I'm working on it. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. I'm a lot better than I was, but I have done all these things incorrectly, right? And so that's why I bring this to you, because I am working on this myself. And I submit that the uber majority, 99% of y'all, need to work on some aspect of this. And so this is my encouragement to you, my encouragement to think about what's rolling out of your mouth. Are you speaking life? Are you speaking death? Are you edifying and uplifting? Or are you dishonoring, defaming, disrespecting somebody or some institution? Are you doing it with your mouth and with your writing? As again, I'm doing the writing, or with your pen writing. So your words, what you write, what you speak, are you using it to bring life, or are you bringing death? So once again, this was me talking about taming the tongue. I will come to you one more time next week. There are like 3 more chapters. The rest of the chapters are all bridled to build, a tongue seasoned with grace, a tongue that glorifies God. The last 3 chapters are really sort of the solutions. How do you do this well? It's not just, it's the first 4 chapters were about what's wrong, and the last 3 are about how to do it well. I'm literally going to talk about how to do it well, bring to you what Kinzer has to say about it next Thursday. It'll be the last video on taming the tongue. And again, I pray this has been edifying. I pray it's caused you to think. I pray it has encouraged you to buy the book and read it. All right. Ciao.